Hi, and welcome to our What Sold video for December 15th through 21st. We're going to go over every item that we sold across multiple reselling platforms for our reselling business. Let's dive in. All right, the first item that we sold was an item that we bought quite a while ago. It took a long time to sell, but this was a Long Island Furrier's women's brown off-the-shoulder sable fur coat. And we got this at an estate sale for $33. It did have like the top button was missing the button, and it was missed like the little elastic that held the button. That was also loose. We sold that for $130 on Poshmark though. Next up was a Murder Mystery in Paris game, and it was brand new in the package. This was like a dinner mystery game. I think it had all the parts and pieces that you needed to put on one of those. We got this at the thrift store for $1.35, and it sold for $19.99 on eBay. Next up was a 20-piece lot of Thomas & Friends and other similar compatible brands of train track parts and pieces. This we got at a garage sale for just 25 cents. We got a big box of Thomas stuff and broke them up into different lots. This sold on Mercari for $34.20. This was during the week when they were doing the 0% fee promotion for buyers. Are you gonna say something? Oh. And so they had like an entire week where they didn't have any of the service fee, I think is what they called it. And we had like a lot more sales on Mercari than we normally have. So I think definitely the buyer fees were contributing to a lot of the issue that buyers were having to shoulder 100% of the fees on Mercari. For a while, they were paying like 10% service fee, and that was not going well. Our Mercari sales were in the toilet. Now Mercari is rolling out a new fee structure where sellers pay a flat 10% selling fee on each item that they sell. And then buyers are going to pay a flat 3.6% buyer protection fee. That starts on January 6th. But I think to kind of like kick it off and do something special for the holidays, they had a week right before Christmas where there was a 0% fee for buyers. And we had a lot more Mercari sales than we normally did. And this Thomas lot sold through that.
They were trying to up their spreadsheet, their corporate balance sheet before the year flipped over.
Yeah. What do you call that when you're trying to do it for the
money?
Do it for the street or something like that?
Do it for the Wall Street?
Yeah, for the wall. Something like that. So anyway, we did sell some things on Mercari. So if y'all are interested in selling on Mercari, now might be a good time to get back into that, because hopefully that new fee structure will be a lot better for both buyers and sellers. All right, next up was a 31-piece lot of mini brands. These are those little miniatures that look exactly like, items that you buy in the stores. We got these at a garage sale. I bought them from like a kid who was selling this stuff, so I paid up for them just because I was like, trying to help out the kid. So we paid $15.67. I think I got a couple of them in the bins as well. And they sold for $31 on eBay. Next up was a Funny Faces Tracing Fun drawing book from 1987. We got this at a garage sale for 25 cents, and this sold for $45 on Mercari.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and it sold on Mercari, another Mercari sale. Next up was a 1992 Prentice Hall Informal Geometry Practice Enrichment Test and Answer Key. I don't know if that was multiple books. You guys will see in the picture, but I just can't remember. We got this at a garage sale.
3 Prentice Hall.
Oh, yeah, it does say that. We got this at the garage sale where everything was free. They were giving it all away for free. And this sold for $44.99.
Nice.
Next up was a Rip and Dip. Falling
Chips
for Normal. That is not a misspelling. That's what it was called. Falling for Normal. Black and white cat print pullover sweater. We got this at one of the Houston Goodwill bins for $1.78, and it sold for $30.38. I got a message on this. I don't even know if you've seen this yet. To me, it seemed a little potential. It could be just absolutely true. But y'all, I'm kind of a cynic. Seemed a little bit questionable and potentially scammy. So I'm going to read it to you. You guys let me know what you think.
The person who bought it?
Yeah, I got a message from the person who bought it. It says, "Hi, Merry Christmas. I apologize, but the package is being returned to sender. I am in a woman's shelter and used the wrong address for pickup." That's all it said. I haven't responded yet because here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking this could be. This may be totally legit. We may get the package back, and if we do, I will refund them their purchase price, minus any extra shipping they paid. But if this is a scam, what they're hoping is that I would see this message and think, oh, I see it's coming back to me. Let me go ahead and refund them the money. And then we never get the package back. So I'm not responding to this because I don't want to engage in conversation with this person until I know what's really going on. But if we do get the package back, we'll refund them.
Have you checked the tracking on it?
No. Should we do that?
Yeah, let's check the tracking and see if it's on its way back or if it was delivered.
That's a good idea. I knew I kept you around for something. No, it says it was delivered.
Delivered.
So anyway, that is definitely...
What is today? It was delivered
December 20th.
On Friday.
And let's see when they sent
December
that
20th. It was delivered like a week or two ago.
It was delivered on December 20th, and they sent that message on December 25th.
How could it possibly be coming back?
Yeah.
Did it show that it's coming back after the fact?
No.
I don't know what's going on with this. This whole thing seems suspect. But they're not getting a refund.
I think that this user, whose name includes Pickles, I won't disclose their full name.
Mr. Pickles.
But Pickles is seeming a little sour.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's questionable.
This could just be it could just be a
It could be real.
mistake. Something could be going on. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be coming back to us.
I'm not going to say because I don't know for sure.
We all know you can't trust tracking, but that seems definitely sus.
But it does appear that it has been delivered.
Doesn't that seem sus? I think they're probably wearing that little sweater.
It's a little sus.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't get the item back, they're not getting a refund. That's just how it works.
So anyway, don't ever get...
It won't work.
Don't ever get scammed by a scam like that.
Don't immediately freak out. Don't immediately freak out and send money back or like, oh, I'm so sorry, and send.
Yes.
Because it could just be somebody messing with you.
That is what they're banking on.
You got to take your time and examine all the facts.
Exactly. So we are no spring chickens when it comes to eBay sales.
Or to anything else.
That's true. All right, next up was the second of those Roland AC adapters. This is for an electric piano. We've sold 2 of these, so be on the lookout for these. And this is just the plug only. This one was gifted to us, and it sold for $25.
Yeah, got to, sold to.
Next up was a black velvet cummerbund, and this was gifted to us. It sold for $29.99.
Is it a cummerbund?
Cummerbund.
Never really seen it spelled out. That's weird.
Yeah.
I always thought there was a B in there. Cummerbund.
I always thought there was a B in there too, but I looked it up and it's cummerbund. Yeah. It's like I always thought, here's another word that I always thought was pronounced differently and spelled differently. Dilapidated. Dilapidated. I always thought it was dilapidated, but it's dilapidated.
No, that one I knew.
Yeah.
I know what dilapidated is.
Yeah.
Dilapidated sounds weird. That's not...
It's just one of those...
That building is dilapidated.
It's just one of those words that, like, as a kid, like, I always heard it wrong. And then, like, I just never saw it spelled. And then, like, as an adult, like, I figured it out later. But it's, like, so ingrained in me that I have to remind myself when I say it. It's dilapidated. Okay. Next up was a manga book. It was Splatoon by Sankichi Inodea. I think I said that right.
As close as I can get.
And this one was in English. It was a paperback. We got this at an estate sale for $10. Oh, this was 5. This was 5 volumes of it. It was $10 for all of them, and they sold for $38. They sold super fast. Next up was a 2009 Pee-wee miniature pillow pet in the moose. And this we got at a thrift store for $2.16. It sold for $18.19. Next up was a 1994 Upper Deck Collector's Choice Silver Signature card for the player Danny Bautista. This was Kevin's, and it sold for $2.29. And it was a nice set. Next up was a vintage 90s Marlboro black and red nylon sports duffel bag.
Marlboro.
And this we got at a garage sale for $4. It sold for $29.98. Next up was a 6-piece set of Light Bright's Festive Glitter Star button covers. These were brand new. These were gifted to us and they sold for $24.99.
That's pretty good.
Next up was a vintage Aberdeen Football Club, like soccer, if you're American. This was a red and white scarf with fringe. We got this at a garage sale for 50 cents. This sold really fast for $29.99. I probably had it underpriced. I couldn't find this exact one.
It was in really, really good shape. It was really cool.
Yeah, really good shape, and it seemed pretty unique. Next up was a West Paw Topple with Zogo Flex puzzle dog treat dispensing toy. Lots of weird words in that one. And it was new in the package. Kevin got this at the thrift store for $2.70 and it sold for $20.
Really quickly.
Yeah. Next up was two 1995 Bowman's Best Blue Rookie Football cards for Craig Newsome and Brian Williams.
Now that is a really nice set.
Like Brian Williams, the news anchor?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't him?
No.
Those sold for $5.78. Next up was a vintage 4-inch art glass crystal penguins figurine or paperweight. We got this at a church rummage sale for $3.25 and it sold for $59.99.
I don't even remember that one.
That was a good one. That's the one where...
Oh, it was pre-boxed.
Yeah, and you were like, I can't find it.
I couldn't. It was in a box.
He was like, I can't find it.
It was pre-boxed in a box that had once housed a mug. And so I thought it was a mug. That's why you need to label your items.
I walked in there and I was like, here it is.
Yeah. Actually, no, it was labeled. I just didn't read the tape. I was having troubles.
Next up was a vintage 1990s Disney Mulan 2-inch red plastic flower hair comb. And that was gifted to us. I think it was in the Barbie bag and it sold for $10.99. Next up was a vintage set of 3. I don't know how to say this. I'm going to give it a shot.
Huta Silesia?
Okay, that'll work. This was a red, orange, and yellow. They were each like graduated sizes of enamel pans. They were made in Poland. These were gifted to us to sell and they sold for $40.
They were nice.
Okay, next up is that Lapco fire-resistant jacket that we were talking about in last week's video, the one where the buyer was complaining that it was late. And it was late. We actually checked it a little while ago and it does say it was delivered. So hopefully they're happy. We don't have any issues with that. Next up was...
I don't know if we ever said how much we paid or where we got it.
Yeah, you're right. I just skipped right past that. All right, so we got that at one of the Houston bins for $1.60 and it sold for $64.99. Hi, it's Makeupless Wendy from The Edit. Coming in with a spoiler alert. They were unhappy with the Lapco jacket and it's being returned for a fit issue. So that's where we are on that. Next up was a We the Free, which is like Free People, women's white protagonist cropped tee, baby tee. We got this at the Goodwill bins for $2. I think this was maybe the Waco bins. And it sold for $22.48. Next up was Star Wars, The Clone Wars Volume 9 Endgame. This was a Dark Horse Comics like graphic novel. And we got this at an estate sale for $2. It sold for $17.
That was the same estate sale where we got the
Splatoon
and where we got the Father Christmas robe.
Yeah. Next up was a vintage 1984 Fisher-Price pink and yellow plush crib friend doll. This is like a little plush doll that has a rattle in it from the 80s. And we got this out of the Fort Worth Goodwill bins a while ago for $1.03. It sold for $19.99. Next up was a Disney Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs bashful hand-blown glass ornament. We got this at a garage sale for 34 cents and it sold for $11.80, another Mercari sale. Next up was a Tomb Raider CD-ROM PC Windows game from 1996. We got this at a garage sale for $1 and it sold for $17.99.
Classic.
Next up was a J. Crew pleated chambray denim sleeveless sundress. We got this at the Katy Goodwill bins for $2.03, and it sold for $37.48. Next up was an Archer Radio Shack AC adapter. This was the power plug only for some kind of Radio Shack equipment. This was in that electronics box that we got from some family members. And so we had no cost, and it sold for $11.18. Next up was a 1994 Teams Stadium Club First Day issue for the player Rod Beck. This was Kevin's, and it sold for $3.79.
This is a nice set.
Next up was a Pottery Barn ceramic holiday cheer candy dish. We got that at the Goodwill bins for $1.03, and it sold for $17.99.
We got good feedback on that one.
We did. Next up was an Eddie Bauer men's blue knit sweater fleece lined pullover. We got this at a garage sale for $2, and it sold for $18. Next up was a huge lot of 106 Cliffs Notes. We got almost all of these at a garage sale where they just had a huge collection of them, and then a few from, I think, the South Austin bins. And we paid $18 for all of those. They sold for $94.99. Next up was a Lotus 123 Release 3.1. This was some kind of, I think, some kind of like
bookkeeping
software or Excel.
Word processor.
Word processing?
It was like word processing, I think.
Like Excel.
Well, I think, yeah, like word processor, spreadsheet, all of it, like Office.
Oh.
I think this was very
right.
Office-like product.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so we got that at an estate sale for just 33 cents. We got a big box of computer software, and that sold for $31.98.
We got good feedback on that one.
Next up was a Nike men's Stanford pullover hoodie. We got this at the Austin Pets Alive thrift store for $4.12, and that sold for $26.18. Next up was a Ralph Lauren women's beige knit blazer or jacket. We got this at the Goodwill bins for $2, and it sold for $42. Next up was a vintage 8-pack of Hallmark bridal shower invitations. They were like die cut in the shape of doves. We got these at the Fort Worth Goodwill bins for $1.10, and they sold for $12.78. Next up was a vintage lot of 2 Winthrop International silver
rich.
Gerber baby spoons. They were silver plated baby spoons, fancy. We were gifted these to sell from family, and they sold for $14.99. Next up was the President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy report from 1964. This was a bound book.
Yeah.
This was gifted to us to sell and sold for $23.98.
It was a pretty thick book, too.
It was an expensive report.
Yeah, it wasn't a pamphlet.
Next up was the Cracker Barrel toy game that's on the table at every restaurant, the like old-fashioned peg game. This was brand new in the package. We got this at a garage sale for $2, and it sold immediately for $17.99. People are all about that peg game.
I had one of those when I was a kid.
Next up was a vintage lot of 3 Barbie replacement seat belts for a Barbie vehicle. Took me a long time to figure out exactly what these are because they were like really plain. But I think I used one of those Barbie Facebook groups, and they helped me. We had no cost on these, and they sold for $11.98. Next up was a 17 by 13 one-of-a-kind pencil drawing of a horse head. It was custom framed and matted by us. And this was left by a customer, and they put 50% down, and then after us calling them for like 2 years, they never picked it up.
Yeah, like we don't get rid of stuff like this unless it's been there a long time. So it was 2 years.
We make so many attempts to contact. We
call, certified letter,
email, and then we finally will send a certified letter, and this person just wasn't going to pick it up.
And at that point, we don't have the room.
Yeah, we're not going to keep something.
It's either
forever.
And it would get donated or whatever, but we're not donating, so we're just going to sell it.
So we sold this and
got some of our money back.
Some of our money back. Yeah.
Materials are expensive for these things.
They are. So that sold for $94.97. Next up was a metal CD. It was called Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow from 1975. I don't know if the CD was from 1975. Did they make CDs in 1975?
The CD itself was not. No, that's just when the album was made.
Okay. We got this at the San Antonio Goodwill bins for 87 cents, and it sold for $13.50. When did they start making CDs? Like in the early 90s?
I think they made them in the late 80s.
Yeah.
But they were like not wide and really expensive.
Yeah. Next up was a Cabela's tan and gray heavy-duty shooting shirt. This has like the quilted part on the shoulder so that the kickback doesn't hurt you. And this was gifted to us, and it sold for $15. Next up was a black plastic United States Marine Corps analog wall clock. It was new in the sense that it was like still attached to the cardboard packaging.
But it didn't have any like plastic around it.
Yeah, and also it was like scratched from storage. So it wasn't really new. It just never been actually used as a clock. So we got this at a garage sale for $1, and it sold for $24.99. Next up was a lot of 4 Fisher-Price Little People Nativity Set replacement figurines. We got this at a garage sale for $1, and they sold for $15.99. And that wraps up all of our sales for the week of December 15th through 21st, which was like the last solid week of like good sales before Christmas.
Yeah.
So
it's really slowed down since Christmas.
It has. So we sold 52 items for an average sale price of $29.24. Our sales totaled $1,520.50 for a net profit of $810.92.
That's a good one. Another good week.
Yep.
Over 100. That's our goal. I mean, that's my goal. Her goal is...
My goal is 1,000.
1,000. So we still haven't hit that.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
I think we need a goal that we haven't hit yet.
Well, that would be what you have a goal, right?
That's an
that's the thing. That's
goal.
A goal.
Yeah.
But what I'm having is we're already doing it, so it's no longer a goal. Although it's not consistent.
All right, so that wraps it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will catch you
on the flip
side.